combat veteran, Bronze Star recipient, host of thedarksecretplace.com, Bryan Suits. Bryan, thanks so much for giving us some of your time today. Where to start? Let me just get your general reaction to everything that we've seen in the past 24 hours.
The reason that this is more significant, more shocking, and people are justified in an age of overstating everything, you're justified in doing that on this because the North Vietnamese army had a 2-year heads up. We left in 1973, ended a draft, pretty much signaled in every way we were not going to come back to Vietnam. And then they predictably used Fort Benning field manuals to invade and conquer South Vietnam. We saw that coming, right? And we even provided some air support up until the end. This was signposted by anybody who ever trained indigenous forces in Iraq or Afghanistan from 03 down. This is what I love. I love the retired admirals talking about ground combat. I love retired Air Force generals talking about ground combat. Talk to the captains. Talk to the guys who actually were in the field with these dudes, whether it's Iraqi or Afghan. And the minute you put any sort of cultural assessment in there, see me winking, that was edited out. All they want to know is, did they meet marksmanship standard to U.S. Army standard? And you go, well, yeah, we were there for 7 days. Eventually, everybody hit the 10 ring. What? The problem is their weapons were filthy, or they sold them, for diesel. And this has been an ongoing problem. And for some reason, I have no idea where the gap is. I sense it somewhere between 06 and then Brigadier General 07. That's what I think. Because these reports were widely available. Talk to anyone who's in Afghanistan, they'll tell you, yeah, they're worthless. As an army, their effect against the enemy is probably nil. And so, but for some reason, when I got on PowerPoint for the flag ranks, it was Afghan army trained to U.S. Army standard. No. And then you heard that on July 8th when Biden said that there's 300,000 of them, man. Come on, man. And that Corn Pop is a bad dude, and that they are equipped spectacularly. Yeah, he's right. If we had thrown that gear at the Belgian army, or never mind that, the Canadian army, that would have been, one of the greatest acts of friendship we could ever do, and probably better for national security. But to throw a bunch of gear at an ignorant, basically cohort of people separated by clan and ethnicity, and not address that, and also be admonished if you did address it, be admonished for it. This was as predictable. This was as easily figure outable as a puppy sitting next to a pile of poo.
Yeah, and that's, Bryan, I think that's such a huge point that nobody is talking about it in the assessment after this. We're talking with Bryan Suits, combat veteran, Bronze Star awarded, because after, when these Afghan soldiers realize that there's not going to be a lot of cohesion, when they realize, the corrupt government that has been installed there, the corrupt management of the military, you hit up on the biggest point, is that people will fall back to their familial, their tribal associations, because that's how everything has been that's how everything's been organized in Afghanistan. So it's not really a surprise that people would either leave, or that you would end up, seeing what you saw. And talk a little bit about that. I can't believe people were actually admonished for even bringing up that, which is such a significant point.
I went to the School of Counterterrorism and Counterinsurgency as an NCO in Bosnia. And Bosnia, while we were called peacekeepers, we were really occupiers. Bosnia recognized that you could not put a Croat, a Serb, and a Muslim in the same unit. So they had Croatian battalions and Serb battalions. And the Serbs were practically a separate army. And then Bosnian Muslim battalions. And you know what? It worked. They all agreed, hey, this works way better. And we can get together and do marksmanship competitions, but if anyone invades, we'll be Bosnians, whatever. And when I was in Iraq, it was the same thing. I didn't understand why we were taking just common ne'er-do-wells who didn't have a tribal clan affiliation, when that was so much more important to the Iraqis than anything else. And we had a State Department telling people like me, hey, don't emphasize the clans. Don't hire guys. Don't hire contractors based on local tribal affiliations. And all I could say back to these guys, with masters and PhDs from University of Virginia and polo shirts with the collar popped. All I could say was, you don't get out of the green zone much, do you, bro?
Yeah.
Because even
That's a good
Saddam understood. And so you get to Afghanistan, same deal. Absolutely same deal. Everyone on the ground, captain and below, and I'll be generous, major and below, said nothing gets done here if you don't recognize the ethnicities and the local clans. And also they accept bribes. Odd, weird, right? Because the rest of the world doesn't operate like America. And I got admonished for tolerating chop shops in my area of operational responsibility, my AOR, because the chop shoppers gave me great information on the insurgents. Because I told them, hey, look, we have chop shops in America too, but you understand that if the United States decides to hammer down on you guys, you're going to get a drone, you're going to get a hellfire up the booty. It's in your interest because the word is out that the car bombs are happening down here. So if you guys drop a dime on the car bomb factories, I will think you're a good guy, and I will let you loot everything in that garage when we're done with it. And I was admonished for putting that in the PowerPoint.
Well, put it in a PowerPoint, which I think I like.
Well, you have to. That's
with Bryan Suits.
That's the language.
Yes,
That's our language is PowerPoint. I
have a last quick question for you. You hear so often, and I'm sure you can, because this is what I've seen this point repeated several times, that this is on the fault of the suits, not the boots. Last quick thought from you on that.
You mean not a capital S, you mean lowercase s suits, right? Okay, thank you.
Yes,
for clarifying
that. All the suits, the people supposedly in charge that are driving this car.
I gotta tell you that I put the blame at the top with Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and the Chairman Milley, because they know the truth, they've heard the truth. For God's sake, Austin was the commander of CENTCOM 3 years ago. He knows this, and now he's wearing a civilian suit. There's nothing stopping him from calling a private meeting with Biden and saying, boss, I got to tell you, they've been pencil whipping the Afghan army for 20 years. It's not an army in any way, shape, or form. We're not ready to leave. He should resign. He should have handed his resignation as Biden was walking or strolling up to the podium. Milley, as far as I'm concerned, it's time to spend more time with his family. But we're not going to get that. But this is on the uniforms. It's not on the uniforms wearing major or below rank. This is about a bunch of people building on their careers by pencil whipping the reports that the guys above them wanted to hear, because nobody who interacted with the Afghan army or the Iraqi army thought for a second that it was a competent army that could actually defend its country.